Hey friends, welcome to another vlog. Today we've got a fun trip planned. But first I have to let the sunlight in my dark cave of a bedroom. I don't know about you, but I sure love waking up, especially at 1 in the afternoon. Real quick, I'm gonna wipe the sleep from my eyes and break that fourth wall. Is that what it's called? Where you make eye contact with the camera through to the viewer. Does that pertain to YouTube? I don't know, I'm not sure. Here I am doing my skincare routine, and then I'm gonna take some pills. Yeah, we love those pills. Nothing quite like that metallic taste in your mouth first thing in the morning. Then I'm gonna brush my teeth. Just ignore that double chin. Let's just pretend it's not there. Thanks. Once I'm done brushing my teeth, I'm gonna get my disabled ass out of bed and into my scooter. Then I'm gonna head on outside for a little relaxation before we take our little trip today. You'll see where we're going in a second, but first I am just gonna sit here and relax a little bit. And oh yeah, I'm gonna show off my twinkle toes. Twinkle toes, twinkle toes. And then my girl Pixie's gonna show up and hang out. Hey, what are you doing? Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. How's it going? How's it going? How are we doing? How are we doing today? Oh, and look at that. We've got another visitor. Squirrel decided to hang out. Hey. What are you doing? Hey, come on. Wait. Come back. Okay, now that you know that I have abandonment issues, here's my lunch. I got a salad, some egg salad on a bagel, some carrots, some jicama fries, and Pixie's back. Look at that. She's always around. As soon as I have food, it's like, hey, I'm back. I like to pretend that she just likes to come around to hang out with me, but I think we all know that it's really about the food. It's sort of like being in a relationship with somebody who only likes you for your money, and that person is very hairy and smells like stale Fritos. But of course, I still love her. Now that I'm done eating, I'm gonna get back in my scooter and I'm gonna head up the ramp and I'm gonna go back inside. Here are the dog friends again, and here's the fun part. Whenever we're about to go somewhere, they instinctively know it and they just go wild. You might want to cover your ears for this next part.
Oh my goodness.
I gotta pause it real quick on Squirrel here. It's like he's twerking trying to catch his own tail. With all that excitement behind us, I'm gonna grab some warm clothes because we're going back to the city by the bay. Carl the Fog is going to be coming in hot, or actually cold today, so I'm going to need those warmer clothes. This next part, going through the yard and getting into the van, will probably look familiar if you've seen my other vlogs. I'll throw up a card here in case you want to catch any of those other vlogs. Now you may notice I am reversing here because I was going to go one way, but the van is too close to the edge of the driveway, so I couldn't get by, so I'm gonna have to go a long way around. It's just another example of some of the challenges that you face when you're in a wheelchair or a scooter. Alright, now this is a story I gotta tell. To those unfamiliar, it may look like a relatively normal size pile of wood chips. Oh, but it's so much more than that. So, a few months ago, my mom found this service. I think they were arborists or tree cutters, whatever they're called, and they will just drop off some free wood chips for you if you want them. But the thing is you can't specify how many. So one day we came home and the entire driveway was full of wood chips, and I don't just mean like knee or waist high. I mean this pile of wood chips was at least 5 foot, maybe 6 feet tall, and it covered the entire driveway. I'll put the photo here. It was wild. And so my mom basically spent the summer chipping away at getting rid of those wood chips, pun intended. All right, so we are going to avoid the wood chips. The dogs are already inside the van. I'm going to join them in a second. I just have to put all my crap inside first. Here is my favorite part, the transfer process. I got my neck pillow and some drinks. Gotta stay hydrated. I also have to shave because I forgot to shave earlier, and if I wait until the end of the day and shave, I'm going to be exhausted. Here we are on the road. We're gonna get on the freeway and drive out Highway 37, and before you know it, we'll be in San Rafael. This building up here on the left is I think it's City Hall or the Civic Center or something, and I believe it was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. And I always thought it looked really cool and kind of futuristic. It's been in some movies like Gattaca, I think, maybe. Of course, there's also my favorite Mount Tam, and you can see here the fog is really starting to come in. So much so that when we get to the end of this tunnel here, normally we would see glimpses of the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's so dang foggy that it's not there. It's like it vanished. So I'm going to show an old postcard from my collection of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a linen postcard from probably the 30s. They call it a linen postcard because when they printed it, it would leave this sort of linen-like texture on it. You can kind of see that textured pattern on it. Okay, now here's our first real glimpse of the Golden Gate Bridge today. And as you can see, Carl, the fog is coming on strong, real strong today. It's almost giving off like spooky vibes, like one of those like thriller horror movies where the murderer is walking out of the mist. But I also kind of like the way that the towers sort of disappear up into the fog. Pretty cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would take a day of clear visibility any day, but every once in a while the fog is nice. The only problem is in San Francisco, it is very common for this to happen, even in the summer. I mean, this is frickin' September. All right, here we are driving around the Presidio. Listen here for some expert observation.
That's a big building.
I had to cut the audio in some places because the wind was so bad, but I really love the Presidio. It's like this little forest inside the city, and you can drive around and there's like wooded areas and a golf course. So it's really nice to just kind of drive around this area. You're like in this forested area inside of an urban area. Just look at these trees. It's hard to find trees that tall in a big city. After I'm done gushing over the trees, we're going to drive on down to the marina and Crissy Field. We're going to head to the beach. I think this beach is called East Beach. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think it's called East Beach. Kind of weird for a beach on the West Coast to be called East, but I think it's probably because it's technically east of Ocean Beach, which is the westernmost beach in San Francisco, I think. Here, Pixie is checking out the Palace of Fine Arts, another favorite landmark of mine in San Francisco. I'm going to show off another postcard from my collection here. This postcard is from the 1915 Pan Pacific Expo, which I believe is when they built the Palace of Fine Arts. It too has been featured in a bunch of movies, one of which was The Rock, which a lot of people think is a terrible movie, but I have a lot of nostalgia for it. It was just like one of those movies I rewatched over and over during my childhood, and I just always really liked it. And there's this scene in it where Sean Connery meets his daughter right over there under that dome structure. All right, moving on now. We're going to drive through the neighborhoods and we're going to get back on the highway. Carl, the fog is once again covering the Golden Gate Bridge, so not really getting any good glimpses at it. But we're going to head through another tunnel. This is a cool tunnel. I forget what it's called or if it even has a name. Once we get out of the tunnel, we're going to head on up to the Sea Cliff neighborhood of San Francisco. And if you're familiar with this neighborhood, if you've ever been there, you know this is where the mega rich people live. There's like rich people And then there's people who live in Seacliff. They are literally all mansions and big ones too. I think Robin Williams used to live here. I think Eugene Levy and maybe Sharon Stone and Linda Ronstadt. I don't know, a lot of famous people and rich people like George Soros have lived there. There's access to a few beaches over in this neighborhood too. I think China Beach and maybe Baker Beach you can get to over here. There's also this outlook where you can just park and gaze at the Pacific Ocean for a while, which is nice. Once we get done with that, we're going to head back through Seacliff and kind of drive around and gawk at the mega mansions. You know, if I were to talk to someone who lived in one of these houses, not knowing where they lived, I would probably think they're just an ordinary person. But if I saw where they lived and I made the correlation, I would probably hate them. Just kidding, but it is a stark contrast to the way most of us live. Here we are driving through Land's End, where there are yet more tall trees that we love. And here we are at the Legion of Honor. I like the Legion of Honor because you can see it from the Marin Headlands. You can actually see the Legion of Honor up on the hill there from across the bay, which is pretty cool. And now I'm going to take this opportunity to show off another postcard. Don't hate me, but I have to tell a little story about the Legion of Honor. It was built by Alma and Adolf Spreckels, and Adolf Spreckels owned the Spreckels Sugar Company, and he was 24 years older than Alma, and Alma often called him, wait for it, Sugar Daddy, and that is where the term Sugar Daddy came from. Alma was really just referring to the fact that he owned a sugar company, but over the decades, that term has really morphed into something that has to do with money and also probably a large age difference. But I just think it's cool that this fancy museum has ties to the term sugar daddy. Oh, and Adolf the sugar daddy, he contracted syphilis and died shortly after the Legion of Honor was built in 1924. Okay, enough about STDs and sugar daddies. Here's one of those autonomous cars that everybody has a love-hate relationship with. Okay, next we are going to drive on over to Ocean Beach. This area over here on the right is Land's End, and below it is actually where the Sutro Baths are. They're kind of just like ruins, rubble right now. In my early 20s, I did a modeling photo shoot down there, and it's actually a pretty cool area. I'll put up some postcards from my collection so you can see what it looks like. There's the outside and also the interior, which looks amazing, and then kind of down the cliff a little bit. These are early postcards. And of course, now it looks nothing like this. I believe it was destroyed by a fire in the early 1900s. All right, now we're going to drive past the Cliff House. This kind of white, beige-ish building on the right is the Cliff House. It's shuttered now because they're in a dispute about who is going to occupy it and who has a lease with the Park Service, I think. Here are a few old postcards from my collection, and actually the Cliff House has burned a few times over the last century plus, and in this postcard you can see exactly how intense that fire in the early 1900s got. Now we're going to drive down to Ocean Beach, and again I'm going to throw up a couple postcards from my collection. One of them, I believe, is an aerial shot linen postcard from like the 30s or 40s, and then the other one is a chrome one, which is probably more like mid-century photochrome. As you can see, today is a very cloudy day. The fog isn't as intense over in this part of the city, but it's definitely cloudy, and you can still see a good amount of the ocean and the beach, which is always a good thing. There was some kind of big event happening. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but there was like a lot of people parked and crowded on the beach. So I'm not sure what that was, but something was going on. Next, I'm going to show this windmill in Golden Gate Park, or maybe it's over by the zoo, that I've always sort of been fascinated with, just kind of seeing it as you drive down the highway, the coastal highway there. And I'm going to throw up a couple, or at least one postcard that I have of that windmill from Golden Gate Park. And now we're just going to park at Ocean Beach and kind of check out the ocean for a while. And this is actually the last postcard that I'm going to show. We parked in pretty much the exact spot where the original photograph that was used for this postcard was taken. You can see the cliff house up on the cliffs on the right, and then the rocks on the left. I believe those are the seal rocks. They're called seal rocks because seals would hang out on them. I actually have postcards of those seal rocks too, but I'm not going to show them. Maybe another time. And now we're going to head home. We're going to cross the Golden Gate, where sure enough, Carl the Fog is still waiting for us, looming over those large, tall, red towers on the Golden Gate Bridge. Spooky, just in time for Halloween. Oh, and I forgot that Squirrel wanted to make an appearance and say hi, just briefly, and then we will get back to the spooky Golden Gate Bridge, and then we're going to head home. Here we are going through the Robin Williams tunnel on the Marin side, and once we come out of the tunnel, you're going to see where the fog layer kind of divides, and Carl the Fog stays behind, and we move on into the clear skies. And now we're back home in Vallejo. You can see it's dark now, so the sun has gone down. I'm going to get into my scooter and make my way through the dark front yard. Smells like barbecue. As you can hear, I am pretty dang tired. Sorry about all that yawning and moaning. But I'm going to head into my room, and then I am going to get in the shower so I can get my butt into bed. Gotta show off those twinkle toes, twinkle toes, twinkle toes. Alright, finally I am back in bed, getting dressed. Sorry about the nips. Had to show them at least once, I guess. And then I ate some food. I forget what it was, but I was so dang tired, I forgot to film. I'm gonna floss real quick and take my pills. And of course, I gotta brush my teeth. And then I'm gonna say good night. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.